Hello everyone, welcome to Anime No Mi, and thank you for joining us for another One Piece video. In today's video, we're going to talk a little bit about Haki, how it's been altered several times, both in its color and appearance and power. And we're also going to comment on the possible existence of a legendary Golden Haki that is much discussed among fans. We're also going to talk about the characters that could improve their Haki. After all, recently Oda revealed to us that Haki can be improved and bloomed even further, so there may be power levels that have not even been revealed yet. But before we dive into the video, if you're new to the channel, we'd be absolutely honored if you consider leaving us a like or even subscribing with a comment letting us know what you thought of the video. It really motivates us and helps us make more content, and if you want to help us out in a bigger way, consider sharing the video or the channel with a friend. Without further ado, let's get into the video. So friends, a long time ago, a theory emerged in the community based on the One Piece manga, where the king of the pirates had used a Haki that was different from all the others, a Golden Haki, which was considered by fans to be the pinnacle of the Haki power in all of the world of One Piece. However, when this moment was adapted into the anime, this Haki didn't appear to be any different than anybody else's, and it wasn't certainly gold. So since then, many have wondered what happened to this power, and also, what if there isn't an evolution to Haki? Of course, we know that in the world of One Piece, there is indeed an evolution to Haki. Oda is always changing the initial concept in which he showed these powers, and then updates it and adapts it, sometimes completely. After all, when we first were introduced to Observation Haki, it was called Mantra by Enel in the Skypiea arc. As we've progressed through the story, we've seen more and more styles of Haki, and we've seen armament come along, and then full-on conquerors, and yet we've also had Ryou in our most current Wano arc. So Oda has been making this power expand, and even if you think back to the idea of little flashbacks that Luffy has had when he's seen Rayleigh do certain things, Rayleigh was indeed demonstrating advanced and more advanced levels of Haki than Luffy or even us as the audience was aware of at the time. Just think about when he removed the exploding collar at the slave auction. Whereas if we think about now how Luffy ended up remembering that and with that same technique removed Yamato's cuffs. So there very well could be a further level and perhaps this ultimate awakening of Haki or this ultimate blooming of one's Haki. So as we talk about this most advanced level, we're going to go ahead and just use the phrase Golden Haki. The initial concept of Haki was introduced to us in the Sabati Archipelago arc, and since that time, we've seen it used more and more frequently by stronger and stronger characters. In fact, Haki became pretty much an essential power for any character to be able to fight opponents, first off, with Haki, and it also improves the user's body in several ways. For instance, without Haki, it becomes impossible to hit any opponent who has a Logia-class Devil Fruit, because the Logia user can become intangible, but the Haki allows the user to strike more powerfully and contact those enemies in their elemental form, just as if they were in their physical form. On top of that, the Haki user gets a better perspective during combat with Observation Haki, and even gains the ability to awaken the possibility of having Conqueror's Haki. As a Conqueror, they are able to use their power to exert their will over other living beings, and sometimes, if the difference is big enough, manages to make them faint. Often in the anime, the colors that we see used for armament Haki are differently changed for each individual character. Now this could mean just, the use of different color palettes, or it could also infer that some people have a more durable or more powerful armament than others. Not only that, we've also seen how Conqueror's Haki has changed. Now if we go back, the first time we saw Luffy using it early in the story, there was kind of just a blue light or kind of a bubble that went around. But after Wano's fights, we've now seen the color change twice and it almost seems red, and we've also seen that fabled splitting the sky. We also saw that when Luffy was knocked out by Kaido, when his men tried to go and capture Luffy, even unconsciously and while unconscious, this Straw Hat Man used his power and was still emitting waves of Haki out of it. There's also been a moment that caught the attention of all manga fans and anime fans, and that was when Luffy managed to emit a golden light when using his Conqueror's Haki. Unlike the first two, Observation Haki doesn't really show large changes in the users, but they are able to use it constantly, and sometimes we've seen in certain seas kind of a red rays in the eyes or a certain gleam, but we've never seen anything quite change in color because it's just the way that somebody perceives. So we'll sometimes get a fly through of kind of getting a perspective of what the character is seeing while using Observation Haki. But it's not quite the same as when we see the Conqueror's waves or even the, armament haki all over a person's body. So let's take a second to talk about Conqueror's Haki. After all, it was the first time we have ever seen this Golden Haki being used. Luffy has been the first and only person in the One Piece universe to have demonstrated that he possessed this Golden Haki. So as he improves his skills with Haki and over their control, we've got to imagine that it becomes more refined. Now, even though Luffy doesn't use his Conqueror's Haki very often, he probably has a great deal of control over, possibly having more control over the Conqueror's Haki than his other two Hakis. Because as we've seen, he's been able to use it even when he was passed out, something that's practically unheard of among those who already control Haki. This leads us to think that just as Luffy was able to turn his Haki golden in the anime adaptation, it's also possible to make his armament Haki and observation Haki reach a new level. And that, as a trifecta, who knows how far it could go. Since Haki's introduction, it's been said that anyone could improve and that one could train skills and might even be better in one specific kind of Haki than another. But then, once they specialize more in that, we've seen that when Luffy's given an opportunity, he's able to advance one of his forms of Haki, but all three overall have still increased. Now, we don't know why we've seen slight alterations in his armament Haki kind of go throughout the anime, and it could be just a color adaptation or trying to make it look cool. But it could also mean something a little bit more subtle in that his armament Haki is advancing because it grants the user an improvement of their body through using their own spiritual energy. And when they manifest that energy on their body, it creates basically a shell. We've seen how this coating allows one to grab Devil Fruit users that are intangible and land really heavy-duty hits on them. And if it can hit a Logia category, it means it could probably do even more damage to users in the Paramecia category, who of course can alter their body just like Luffy, who still, of course, we're still reeling from the fact that instead of having a Paramecia called the Gomu Gomu no Mi, he's had this Zoan fruit. However, unlike Sea Stone, the armament coating doesn't nullify a Devil Fruit powers. It just allows that person to defend themselves or also hit them as if they're fighting normally. Of course, armament Haki is of course defensive in nature, and it's able to provide a great power that increases the user's physical defense and makes their body physically resistant, and in some cases unable to be cut. So if we think of different characters that we've seen in the armament Haki that they use, we might say that the average kind of users that we've seen is kind of a medium level. So they're easily able to land some really heavy hits, but to those who have much more advanced armament Haki, we see like when Luffy was first going after Kaido and there was that very much larger difference in their power levels, he really couldn't overcome Kaido's armament. And until we saw the fact that you had to combine Conquerors with your armament, it was only then that we saw that he was able to bypass what Kaido had as a defense through his own advanced armament Haki. But after Luffy had a long and tiring training in Wano, he's been able to achieve the highest level of Haki, an improved and even more interesting way of using this Haki, and it's called Ryou. And this was a special type that was in Wano, which basically allows this armament to flow. And with the advanced armament, he's able to basically hit things without making a physical touch, and is even able to go so far as to repel blows. And it's really this thing that allows even that sky splitting, where we don't see either person hit because their attack is fused with Conqueror's and advanced armament energy. As we've seen the fight go on between Luffy and Kaido, we've seen that more and more the pressure of the strikes between them really didn't even have their hands touching. There was always a gap, and that really should reflect the just unbelievable, dare I say, like, spiritual or will-based pressure between their two strikes. So with just these evolutions that we've seen recently, and maybe there even being a possibility at a golden kind of Haki, we can deduce that there must be easily higher levels of armament Haki following the same kind of color pattern, and thus demonstrating that the user has managed to be able to perfect the technique to perfection. Now, of course, we really don't have any proof, and this is all speculation whether or not this will come into existence. But apart from the moment where Luffy uses his Conqueror's Haki in Wano, and the long time theory kind of stated in the manga, it still might be interesting to see how Luffy and other Haki users are able to evolve, and if there could end up being a golden level. This power would be able to protect the user even more and increase their strength and their attacks all the more as well. So if this level of Haki exists, we'd have to see some characters in which they have a great mastery of Haki. And Roger and Shanks and even people like Kaido and Big Mom could very well be using it. But there's still a very small theory that Shanks may still even show his power in the future. And it's already being kind of said that since he's from the King of the Pirates crew, he's also one of the greatest, if not the greatest, Haki user in the world. It could also be that Shanks may be the only character who has an incredible grasp of all three of these Haki categories, being the only Yonko who doesn't possess a devil fruit, and thus demonstrating his strength comes from his Haki alone and his, of course, impeccable swordsmanship. Let it not be forgotten that we know that he was a rival to Mihawk in the past, and they even kind of disputed who really had earned the title of greatest swordsman in the world. So if this Haki really exists, this Golden Haki, Shanks may end up being the one that comes to demonstrate, because we really haven't seen his full abilities, much less the color of his Conqueror's Haki. When we have seen Shanks use his Haki, it's really still invisible and there's kind of waves. And so this may be a way for him to hide the true color of his Haki, and just maybe until the exact moment where he has to reveal it. If one were to master Haki to the highest stage, they would be practically unbeatable, just as Kaido seemed to be nearly unbeatable until Luffy was able to advance his. But as Luffy managed to upgrade his Haki little by little, he was able to bring himself as a match to Kaido in combat. Although the chances seem kind of low that the Golden Haki could still appear. I mean, we don't know. I mean, Oda might come to surprise us, because we all know that Oda-sensei loves a good surprise. And although, we still don't know when it'll happen, we've still got a lot of One Piece left. Now, if we think about just as Luffy has managed to unlock his gear system, from Gear 2nd, where he was just pumping blood around faster, to now Gear 5th. We've seen that there have been all of these different incredible powers. Take also Robin, for example. When we saw her, we just had arms coming out, which were still an amazing tactical usage of her devil fruit. But as we've seen in this current Wano arc, now that she's got this sea serpent skill and all of this demonio, this is kind of something that is taking even her powers to an even further level. So as we can see, Oda loves to impress us with incredible abilities in this vast world of One Piece. And let's be honest, to this man, practically nothing is impossible within this world, much less the possibility that Shanks or even another character may come to appear to have this ability or have this power. And who knows, maybe even Luffy might demonstrate, making him just reveal this greater and greater strength, because this may be the thing he needs in this final matchup, whatever lies in the distance for the final big bad he has to do. So with everything Luffy's managed to grow in Wano, this might be a greater opportunity to have Luffy come to fight on equal terms with Shanks. After all, Luffy's just matched up to Kaido, but if Shanks was able to stop Kaido, that might mean that Luffy has an even higher level that he could reach. So it doesn't make the Straw Hat on the same level of maybe him. Luffy may still have another person to chase, or at least another person to help him bloom and grow his Haki even further. But for now, what do you think about the theory about the Golden Haki? Do you think Oda might be putting this into the story in the future? Let us know in the comments below. So as we wrap up our video, I want to thank you all so much for watching until the very end. Make sure you comment on any themes or ideas that you'd like to see in future videos. And also, since you made it this far, give us a like and maybe even a subscribe before you head out to take on the rest of your day. Hope to see you all in our next video. Let's keep sailing this giant sea together. Take care.